Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Game Tier Weekend, and today I want to talk about the 3DS. This was the last true handheld console, and to this day, it is one of the most unique console experiences ever that somehow just keeps getting better and better. The 3DS was already good as is, but if you're willing to hack it, it really takes the experience to a whole new level. Nonetheless, though, I always find myself revisiting the 3DS every single year, and I'm always pleasantly surprised by how well its games hold up. Not only because of their timeless art style, but also because of how fun and creative they still are. So we're going to talk about 25 3DS games that's still worth your time in 2026. So let's just go and get started with Fantasy Life. This is actually a series that really climbed in popularity this past year with the launch of Fantasy Life I, but its prequel on the 3DS still holds up incredibly well. This is level 5 after all, and they just know how to make charming experiences, and in this case, incredibly addicting games. In a lot of ways, it's a cozy life sim type of game, but Fantasy Life has so much more depth because of its RPG elements and its job-based classes. You're constantly leveling up and learning new skills that really just changes how you approach it. It's a great mix-up and one that you can easily pour tens or even hundreds of hours into. Now, next up, I do have a bit of a hidden gem that a lot of people originally missed out on, but now years later, people are starting to catch on to Ever Oasis. This is actually an original IP from Grezzo, the same studio behind the 3DS Zelda remakes, and that's why you might notice a few similarities. It definitely seems like there's some Zelda inspiration with the RPG puzzle aspects. There are dungeons and things like that you would expect in Zelda, but Ever Oasis also has a town management aspect to it. So basically, you play as a character that partners up with a water spirit to grow an oasis. And here you can bring in new residents and level up your own little dystopia over time. Ever Oasis is a bit of a tale of two halves, though, as you go back and forth between the two different styles of gameplay. But it works fairly well together. Now, here I have another level 5 game because they truly were firing on all cylinders during the 3DS era, and that includes the Yokai Watch series. Now, it often gets directly compared to Pokemon, and okay, technically they do share some things in common because they're both monster tamers with a cutesy-like art style to it, but other than that, they play completely different. The way Yokai Watch works is that you hunt down these ghost-like creatures that are basically causing trouble with different hijinks. Other people can't see them, but you have an ability that allows you to, and that also allows you to become friends with them. Now, there are 3 games in the series that are available on the 3DS, though, but they're all great games and a lot of fun if you enjoy the monster taming genre. Now, Kirby sits among some of Nintendo's most beloved IP of all time, and while the 3DS has access to a lot of Kirby games, which includes Kirby's Epic Yarn, Kirby Triple Deluxe, Fighters Deluxe, Kirby Battle Royale, and the list goes on and on and on. And while a lot of these games are fun, if there's one 3DS entry that I would recommend, that would be Kirby Planet Robobot. This plays a lot like the traditional Kirby games where you absorb enemy powers, but with a new spin to it. You can actually also wear mech suits, which makes Kirby even stronger, and also changes the level design with completely different types of puzzles. So if you like the Kirby experience, then I think Robobot is a fun spin for the series, and honestly, to this day, it's still viewed as one of the better Kirby games of all time. Atlus has since become a household name, mainly because of Persona 5. That game continues to sell incredibly well even to this day, but the 3DS actually has a few exclusive Atlus titles, including Persona Q and Persona Q2. Now, unlike the mainline series, though, these are dungeon-crawling experiences that intertwines fan-favorite Persona characters from different entries. So if you've played Persona 3, 4, and 5, then, there's a lot of fan service in these games because you get to see how they interact together in a completely new story and setting. The only thing I'll say, though, is that I do recommend these games specifically for Persona fans, as they're going to get a lot more out of this series than others will. Now, the Monster Hunter series might have blown up on home consoles here in recent years, but before that, they were hugely popular on handhelds, including on the 3DS. And that's the thing, because on the 3DS, you can play a wide range of Monster Hunter titles such as Monster Hunter Stories and Monster Hunter 4 Generations. And while Monster Hunter Stories has since been ported over to modern consoles with a few quality of life improvements, it's still fun to go back to Monster Hunter 4 Generations on the 3DS. It's a more compact experience meant for the go, but still has that same addictive loop that fans love the series for. I mean, these games can be a grind as you hunt and level up your gear, but they're always a blast to play. Now, when thinking about some of the best gaming music of all time, Final Fantasy has to go somewhere near to the top of that list. And the thing is that Square Enix took that music and they made a rhythm RPG out of it, being Theatrhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call. I mean, this is an easy pick-up-and-play game where you tap, slide, and swipe to match the beat on the screen, all while using some of Final Fantasy's most beloved characters to fight off incoming attacks. It's both fun to play and, great to listen to. Now, there is a new Theatrhythm available on modern consoles, though, but Curtain Call on the 3DS does offer a unique way to play with its touch control scheme. All right, now here's an oldie but a goodie with a new spin to it, being Star Fox 64 3D. It's unfortunately been a while since we've seen a brand new Star Fox game. Hopefully that'll change sometime in the near future. But in the meantime, here you have one of the best in the series, and while this game originated on the Nintendo 64, it's aged quite well thanks to its fun aerial combat and characters, and it does also have exclusive 3D functionality being on the 3DS. Now, it's not necessarily an overly long game per se, but it does have a lot of replay value with multiple routes to take, and quite honestly, its gameplay just never seems to get old. Now, we talked about Persona Q earlier, but its parent franchise, Shin Megami Tensei, has a strong library of games on the 3DS as well. You have the Devil Survivor series, Soul Hackers, there's Strange Journey, and also Shin Megami Tensei 4 and Apocalypse. Now, if you like JRPGs, you might want all of those games, but if it comes down to just one, I'd go with Shin Megami Tensei 4. This is more of a traditional JRPG experience where you collect demons to fight, and just in terms of combat and atmosphere, there's not really many games within the genre as good as Shin Megami Tensei. It can be brutally challenging at times, but also highly rewarding. Now, as a bit of a bonus though, the Devil Survivor series is really good as well, but they're also quite a bit different, being more of a strategy RPG. Now, if that's more of your style though, then go with Devil Survivor 1 and 2 instead. And here for you Metroidvania lovers, I have Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. This series has really grown over the years, but to this day, Pirate's Curse remains a fan favorite, and I'd say for a very good reason. You can gain new pirate gear and upgrade your abilities, which is a lot of fun, and it also has great animations, the level design is top-notch, and the characters are as quirky as ever. Now, this game is available on modern platforms now, so you do have options, but there's something about this game running on the 3DS. I think that second screen does add an extra layer because it gives you easy access to its menus. Now, as I said earlier, Level 5 has a treasure trove of quality games on the 3DS. And yes, that includes the Professor Layton series. This franchise was massive on the original Nintendo DS, and do kind of keep in mind that the 3DS has backwards compatibility if you want to go back and play those games as well. But of course, the series continued on with the 3DS. And that includes two mainline entries, being Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask, as well as Professor Layton and the Azran Legacy. Now, these are mind-bending puzzle games with charming characters and stories to follow. They'll give you a ton of different puzzles to complete with a lot of variety. At times, you're going to feel like a true genius. Now, some of my all-time favorite games comes from the RPG Mario formula, and thankfully, you can play through a lot of those games on the 3DS, not only because of its backwards compatibility, but also through some of its native installments as well. The 3DS has Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga and Mario & Luigi Inside Bowser's Story. Now, Inside Bowser's Story is a fan favorite, and for a good reason. As the name implies, you're exploring inside of Bowser, so you're going to directly impact how he feels and reacts to things. And that's the thing about the 3DS. This is another one of those games that takes full advantage of its dual screen setup, and it's also why it's hard to replicate it on other consoles. Nonetheless, though, it's such a charming experience, and if you like Mario RPG or Paper Mario type of games, these are must-play games. Now, surprisingly, the follow-up to Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube was made for the 3DS, being Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Now, Dark Moon has since been ported over to the Switch, but again, I think there's something about playing a game on the hardware that it was originally made for, and this game feels perfectly suited for the small handheld. It's a fun pick-up-and-play experience with 5 different mansions to explore, all with their own unique playstyle. It just feels like it's constantly changing, with not only new areas to explore, but also with new ideas around every corner. And of course, Luigi always oozes personality, and while Luigi has lived much of his life as Player 2, Dark Moon on the 3DS once again proves that he's pretty good as Player 1 as well. Now, some of my favorite games growing up were the original Donkey Kong Country games being developed by Rareware. I mean, to this day, the song Aquatic Ambiance brings back so many nostalgic memories of my family and I playing those games together. I really do adore that series. So when they announced Donkey Kong Country Returns, I was absolutely thrilled, other than the fact that it was developed for the Wii, and, well, honestly, I despise the Wii's controller and its motion controls. It was just such a letdown for me at that time, so that's why I was once again thrilled when they decided to port it over to the 3DS. It has normal controls now, plus it's also capable of 3D, which is why I would still recommend it, even though it has a Switch version as well. But yeah, I'd say it's arguably one of the best platformers for the 3DS. The music is amazing, the mechanics are fantastic, and the level design, as you'd expect, is both challenging as well as brilliant. Now, for you old-school JRPG fans, the 3DS has access to one of the best modern takes for the genre, being Radiant Historia. This game seems heavily inspired by Chrono Trigger with both its combat and time travel mechanics. There's no random encounters or anything like that, and you'll travel through various periods of time, but there's actually a nice twist here. There's branching paths, though you can actually go back in time to change some of your previous decisions. I mean, the time-traveling mechanic and the story are handled extraordinarily well. And thanks to its art style, this game also is a timeless entry for the 3DS. Now, if you want more of a relaxed and adorable game, though, there's also Animal Crossing New Leaf. And I mean, yeah, okay, there's a good chance that you've already played New Horizons as it's massively popular on the Switch, but some people do prefer New Leaf instead, so don't sleep on this game. It's got a ton of content, and it feels perfect to play on the 3DS. Of course, though, it's a life sim where you build a community, welcome in new villagers, and complete daily tasks. With the 3DS being such a portable console, though, Animal Crossing New Leaf is an easy pick up and play on a daily basis. Now, here's another series that has risen in popularity, especially with Smash Bros. Involved, and that's Fire Emblem. Well, the 3DS has several Fire Emblem games worth playing, including Fates, Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, and Fire Emblem Awakening. Now, really, you can't go wrong with any of these games, but Fire Emblem Awakening has proven to be the most popular over time. In a way, this is the game that resurrected the series, and why not? It's one of the finest strategy RPGs that you can play to date. It's got a ton of depth to its strategy, and each battle zone feels like you're playing a chess match, especially if you're trying to do a no-death run, which, in my opinion, is when Fire Emblem is at its best. Now, of course, there's no Nintendo list without some type of mainline Mario title, and yes, that includes the 3DS, which has a full-fledged 3D Mario being Mario 3D Land. Now, I feel like this game often gets forgotten among some of the better entries, but Mario 3D Land is an excellent platformer that really takes advantage of the 3D aspect that the 3DS has to offer. It allows you to perceive where you are in the environment just a little bit better, and because of that, Nintendo was able to use some really creative camera angles. Again, do not sleep on this game because it is an excellent 3D Mario entry. Now, Dragon Quest is one of the most beloved JRPG franchises of all time, spanning more than 30 years with 11 mainline entries thus far and still counting. Well, if you ask fans about what the best Dragon Quest title is, a lot of times, Dragon Quest VIII will top that list. Now, this is a game that originated on the PlayStation 2, but it got a wonderful port for the 3DS, which not only feels great as a handheld experience, but it also comes with plenty of new content, such as new recruitable monsters, new weapons, and also the ability to speed up battles. This game has a great story, enjoyable characters, and of course, as expected, it has excellent turn-based combat as well. Now, one of the biggest surprises for the 3DS was the addition of Super Smash Bros. I mean, this game blew me away back when it released in 2014, not only because we had never seen something like this on a Nintendo handheld before, but also because of how good it feels on the 3DS. Now, part of that, though, is because they went with more of a cel-shaded art style that's really appealing on the 3DS, but mechanically, it was just as good as its console counterpart. The only bad thing about this game, though, is that it's admittedly a little bit hard on your analog stick, but despite that, Smash Bros. For the 3DS is a ton of fun and a great way to play the series. Now, if there's any franchise that's just a ton of fun for pretty much everyone, that would be Mario Kart. And honestly, looking back on it, I feel like Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS is one of the best entries for the entire franchise. I mean, Mario Kart Double Dash is probably still my personal favorite, but Mario Kart 7 is the one that really got me into the competitive side of the series. Its online feature was just a blast to play, but even more so is that it has creative tracks, its glide mechanic is smooth, and obviously, when it comes to any Mario Kart game, it of course is chaotically fun. Now here we are with just 5 more to go, and these are all among my very favorites. And that starts off with a game that to this day I believe is just criminally overlooked, being Kid Icarus. I mean, it is such a shame that more people haven't played this game because it is quietly an amazing title, and it also adds an extra layer to Nintendo's library. Now there's actually 2 forms of playstyles though. There's it's aerial combat, which plays more similar to a game like, let's say, Star Fox. And then there's the ground-based combat, where it plays more like a traditional third-person shooter. Now, its control scheme is a little bit unique, though, because you actually use the stylus to aim, and that does take a little time to get used to, but once you do, it surprisingly works very well, and it might be even more accurate than by using a simple analog stick. Either which way, though, Kid Icarus is a ton of fun, both in terms of its gameplay as well as its story. Now, if there's any JRPG that I have a soft spot for on the 3DS, that would easily be Bravely Default and Bravely Second. I mean, they have great stories with great characters, and I love them for those reasons, but it's the combat for me that really stands out. It's really one of my favorite turn-based combat systems to this day. More or less, though, Bravely Default in a lot of ways is a classic Final Fantasy experience with a job-based system in which you can freely mix and match your character's abilities. That alone adds a ton of strategical depth, but then when it comes to the combat itself, you have 2 choices per turn. You can either Brave, which means that you can stack multiple attacks at a time, or you can Default, which banks an extra turn for the future. This just adds a whole new layer to its strategy, and you're going to need it because this game can seriously be challenging at times. Now, admittedly, Bravely Default did get an HD version for the Switch too, but it's still cool to see the game in 3D, and plus, Bravely Second is still exclusive to the 3DS to this day. Now, speaking of some of my all-time favorites, I love me some Metroid, and the 3DS has exclusive rights to one very good Metroid game, being Metroid Samus Returns. Now, this is actually a remake of the old classic Metroid 2, but it's better in every possible way. I mean, the original Metroid 2 is a bit dated in how its world functions, but also the controls in Samus Returns feels nice and fluid, it bleeds atmosphere, and the exploration is top-notch with all of those upgrades and secrets that you can find. Now, however, I will say that the boss encounters are a little bit repetitive, and I think it relies a little too much on its parry system, but even with those flaws, this is still a top-notch Metroid experience in every sense of the meaning. And next up here, I have to talk about the Pokemon series. I mean, I am a huge Pokemon fan after all, and that's the thing because the 3DS has access to a very large portion of the Pokemon games, whether that be through backwards compatibility. It's Virtual Console with games like Pokemon Crystal, which is still a fan favorite to this day. It's got spin-offs such as Detective Pikachu, and then of course the mainline titles. And these are probably still some of my favorite entries ever for the Pokemon series. So I'm talking about Pokemon X and Y, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire, and then lastly, Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now, all of these games are fantastic in their own way. I think they are much better than the Switch games that we've gotten, though if I had to pick just one, I'd probably go with X and Y. I mean, it was really the first big move into a more 3D Pokemon environment, and I thought it translated very well. And then out of all of the gimmicks for the franchise, Mega Evolutions are still my favorite. Again, though, all these games are good, and I'd recommend all of them if you are a Pokemon fan. And then lastly, of course, we need to talk about Zelda because there's a lot of Zelda games on the 3DS. I mean, first, there's the old Nintendo 64 remakes being Zelda Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I mean, these games are some of the most praised games of all time for good reason. And while the 3DS, in my opinion, is the best way to play those games, they look better than ever, and they also feel great to play. Now, if you want a game that was built from the ground up for the 3DS, though, there's also Zelda: A Link Between Time. Now, this is basically a sequel to the fan favorite A Link to the Past. It's actually set in the same world, but with a different story and gameplay mechanics. Yes, it's familiar, but you actually have access to all of your items from the very beginning of the game by simply purchasing or renting them. This allows you to complete its dungeons in any order that you would like, though the main feature is your ability to turn into a painting. And this basically allows you to travel on walls and even slip into a different dimension. So this adds an extra layer to its puzzles, but either which way, I mean, all three of these games are must-own titles for the 3DS and are still worth playing to this day. There you go, though. That was a long list, but hopefully it helped you find something to play. I mean, the 3DS, in my opinion, is still incredible in the year of 2026, but yeah. If you enjoyed this video, do make sure to hit that bell, like, and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.